Hello everyone, welcome back to Veer Yuva. Today we bring you an in-depth report on a sudden escalation along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border, an event that began with an attack and ended with a forceful response from the Pakistan Army. Over the next 15 minutes, I'll walk you through what happened, who the likely actors are, why this matters, and what the regional consequences could be. I'll also explain how local communities are reacting, what military experts are saying, and what to watch for next. It began in the early hours, when residents in several frontier villages woke up to the sound of heavy gunfire and distant explosions. Eyewitnesses described a chaotic scene, families rushing from their homes, livestock fleeing in panic, and smoke rising from the hills. In some towns, markets that usually buzz by dawn were empty. Shopkeepers had locked their doors and taken cover. According to multiple local reports, a group of armed militants crossed into Pakistani territory from the Afghan side and launched coordinated assaults on border posts. The initial targets appear to have been small military outposts and checkpoints that guard mountain passes and rural villages. Pakistan's military, which maintains a significant presence along this stretch of the Dur and line, responded quickly. Within hours, ground units and artillery engaged the hostile positions. Surveillance drones and reconnaissance teams confirmed the direction and scale of the incursion, enabling targeted countermeasures. Official statements from Pakistan's defense authorities described the attack as unprovoked and emphasized the need to protect civilians and maintain border integrity. Pakistan's response, they said, was precise and proportionate, a message meant both for the militants and for any external parties who might have been backing them. To understand the situation, it helps to know the geography and the history. The Dur and line, the mountainous border between Afghanistan and Pakistan, has long been a porous and contentious frontier. For decades, it has provided routes for trade and travel, but also for insurgent movements, smuggling, and cross-border attacks. The border communities are closely linked by language, family ties, and commerce, but they have also borne the brunt of geopolitical struggles. When militant groups find safe havens on one side, they can launch raids across the boundary and disappear into the rugged terrain, making conventional defense difficult. This latest incident must be seen against the broader backdrop of political instability inside Afghanistan. Since the withdrawal of international forces and the changes in Kabul's political makeup, security control in many provinces has weakened. Various non-state actors, including organized militant groups and criminal networks, have seized the opportunity to operate with greater freedom. Pakistan's military leadership has long warned that militants using Afghan soil to plan or launch attacks threaten regional stability. Islamabad has also argued that without effective governance and security cooperation from Kabul, such cross-border incidents will continue. Within Pakistan, the government's messaging has been clear. Sovereignty cannot be compromised, and the safety of citizens is the top priority. From a military perspective, the goal was twofold: to neutralize immediate threats and to deter future incursions. The tactics included precise artillery strikes, special forces operations to clear targeted areas, and the use of intelligence to track militant movements. Officials emphasized that the operations were conducted with careful intelligence to minimize civilian harm. Nonetheless, any military activity near populated border areas understandably creates fear and dislocation among local inhabitants. What do independent analysts say? Many security experts point to a pattern. When local militant networks grow bolder, they often test border responses to gauge how far they can operate. Such attacks are sometimes designed to provoke reactions, to divert attention, or to demonstrate capability. Analysts also note that militant groups may exploit gaps between diplomatic channels and military realities. If Kabul and Islamabad lack direct and effective communication, local commanders could make miscalculations that escalate into broader conflict. For now, most observers caution against assuming this will spiral into full-scale hostilities. Both capitals appear to prefer managing escalation rather than risking open confrontation. The human cost is important to highlight. Border civilians, farmers, traders, women, and children are the ones who suffer the most. Many who live in small settlements rely on cross-border trade for their livelihoods. Any military flare-up disrupts markets, transportation, and schooling. Internally displaced families may have to move to safer towns, placing strain on local resources. Humanitarian organizations sometimes face access issues in these high-tension zones, making it harder to provide timely assistance. Diplomatically, the incident has drawn attention from regional and international stakeholders. Major powers with interests in South Asia have urged restraint and dialogue. Calls for calm emphasize that the consequences of miscalculation would extend beyond the immediate border region, affecting trade, refugee flows, and broader security cooperation. There are also economic implications. Pakistan and Afghanistan are part of regional transit routes that support commerce in Central and South Asia. Any prolonged disruption at the border can ripple through supply chains and raise insurance costs, which eventually affect ordinary consumers. Local political leaders on both sides have reacted cautiously. In Pakistan, opposition figures have used the incident to question government preparedness and to call for stronger border monitoring. Meanwhile, some Afghan leaders and tribal elders have framed the attack differently, suggesting internal rivalries or specific groups might be responsible rather than official Afghan entities. This is a sensitive point. Accusing a national government of direct involvement is politically charged and often unhelpful. The reality on the ground is more complex, with multiple armed groups and local power brokers involved. Let's examine the military tactics used in the response. The Pakistan Army relied on a combination of surveillance intelligence, artillery precision, and mobile infantry squads. Drones provided real-time imagery that allowed forces to distinguish between militant compounds and civilian homes, an essential distinction when operating near populated areas. Artillery was used selectively against identified hostile positions rather than broad bombardment, reflecting lessons learned from past operations where excessive use of force provoked international criticism. Ground teams then moved in to secure areas, detain suspects, and gather forensic evidence. Public affairs officers emphasized that captured materials would be shared with independent monitors to validate claims about militant use of Afghan territory. On media and public perception, narratives matter. News outlets and social media amplified dramatic visuals: smoke over the hills, armored vehicles on the move, and interviews with shaken civilians. In such moments, rumors can spread quickly. Official channels work to release verified updates to counter misinformation, but the speed of social media often outpaces formal statements. This underscores the need for responsible reporting and for viewers to rely on verified information rather than sensational posts. Now, what are the plausible scenarios moving forward? One possibility is de-escalation through quiet diplomacy. Back-channel communications, often mediated by neutral parties or regional partners, can lead to mutual assurances, joint investigations, and renewed commitments to secure border areas. This approach is common when both sides want to avoid a costly confrontation but need to show firmness to domestic audiences. Another possibility is a series of tit-for-tat incidents. If militant elements interpret the response as a justification for further attacks, there could be sporadic clashes. This is the danger. A prolonged exchange of small-scale attacks can erode stability over time and entangle neighboring areas. A third scenario involves broader international engagement. If major powers view the situation as a threat to wider regional stability, they may step in to facilitate negotiations, provide monitoring support, or pressure local actors to cooperate. International involvement can help, but it can also complicate matters if external agendas shift the focus away from practical, local solutions. What should viewers watch for in the coming days? First, official statements from both governments, particularly any joint communiques or agreed investigation teams, will signal whether diplomacy is taking hold. Second, movement of military assets beyond the immediate border region could indicate escalation, while a phased withdrawal or repositioning suggests de-escalation. Third, humanitarian indicators such as displacement figures and access to aid will reveal the immediate human impact. And finally, independent media and international monitors can provide crucial context to help understand who the main actors are. It's also worth considering long, long-term measures that could reduce the likelihood of future incidents. Strengthening local governance, enhancing cross-border communication channels, investing in joint patrols, and expanding economic cooperation are all practical steps. Training for rapid response teams that prioritize civilian safety and joint intelligence sharing mechanisms can help catch militant movements before they result in attacks. Ultimately, sustainable peace requires both security measures and economic opportunities that render militancy unattractive to local youth. Back to the immediate moment, the Pakistan Army's swift action made a clear statement about sovereignty and deterrence. For many in Pakistan, that response was reassuring, a demonstration that the state can protect its borders and citizens. For others, it raised questions about the risk of escalation and the need for political solutions. For Afghans living near the border, the event was another reminder of how regional instability can upend daily life. In conclusion, this incident is a microcosm of larger regional dynamics: porous borders, militant actors, fragile governance, and the complex interplay of military and diplomatic responses. The next few days will be crucial in determining whether this episode becomes an isolated incident or the beginning of a more troubling pattern. For now, the message from Islamabad was unequivocal: Pakistan will defend its territory. The response was calibrated, sent with public statements, and backed by operational action on the ground. Thank you for listening to this full breakdown. If you found this report useful, please like the video, share it with friends, and subscribe to Veer Yuva for Part 2, where we'll analyze international reactions, statements from major capitals, and the possible long-term strategic shifts this incident might provoke. Also, leave your thoughts in the comments. How do you think this will play out? And what should leaders do to prevent future violence? Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next video.